Hi everyone in Nursing 602. This is Maureen O'Reilly, your adjunct instructor, and I'm talking to you from my lovely office here in Milwaukee. I hope I don't look too awful. I just got home from work after a 48-hour shift in the nursery, and I'm a little bit tired, but I really wanted to carry through on my promise to get you some information about your syllabus and the paperwork in the course, the documentation, so that you can go forward with a little bit more confidence. So I'm hoping that you have a copy of the syllabus in front of you so you can follow along. And if you don't, why don't you pause this and go to Blackboard and print out a copy of the syllabus and also the, the course outline. Those documents will help you. And it's also, of course, very frustrating on days when something's going wrong with your computer or technology, and you need to check something about what is due in the course. So having a paper copy, it allows you to do that. So on page 1 of the syllabus, you'll see there's a course description. We're going to be looking at different religions, cultures, and alternative healthcare practices, and seeing how they affect patient care and what we do to provide patient care. Family structure variations, patient support, how individuals normally develop across a lifetime, because of course that's the basis of similarity among us all here on the globe. And of course our emphasis is going to be on the needs of patients because of course we're talking about nursing. So we'll be looking at patients and their support systems across the lifespan during their encounters with DNPs, advanced practice nurses. So under learning outcomes, you'll see that there are very clear connections between what you have to accomplish to graduate with your DNP and what is provided by each course. And so to maintain our certification as a DNP program, those learning outcomes and the assessment have to be linked, and you can see them there. On the next page, you'll see course objectives, and I'd just like to go across those in a little bit more depth. Number 1, you're going to demonstrate knowledge and competency in the developmental assessment of patients across the lifespan. And of course, all of you are experienced in the field, and so you have some idea, I believe, of what this means. In other words, have people reach developmental milestones, and it's looking at them both mentally, physically, and spiritually. Secondly, analyzing variations in cultural and religious backgrounds, the practices of patients and their families, and how this might affect compliance with treatment. I recently had a patient whose parents were Sikhs, and the infant ran out of spots where we could start an IV, and we had to ask the parents for permission to attempt a scalp PIV because we would have to shave a small amount of hair from the scalp. And they, in the Sikh culture, of course, hair is not supposed to be cut. So that was one way of trying to make sure that we were respecting their culture and beliefs. Number 3 is to analyze alternative healthcare practices. How will they affect how you give patient care? 4 is to recognize the need to develop communication skills with patients across the lifespan. Now, of course, it's always a good idea to learn Spanish or another language and have that under your belt, but that isn't really what's being referred to here. Here is the idea that you need to go halfway across the bridge. You need to learn about other cultures, cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, and types of spirituality so that you have some sort of basis to begin a conversation with a patient on their needs. And last, compare and contrast knowledge of the impact between morals and ethics and how they direct provider choices and patient choices for treatment. And this is sort of an afterthought, but it's something that you're going to encounter again and again in your career, as long as you're doing it right. At the bottom of that page, it says required textbooks and readings. And as you'll know, this is a pretty overwhelming list. I talked about it in our meeting on June 30th. I've talked about it in emails and announcements. Again and again, here's my advice. Read it as if you're going through a novel. Don't attempt to take notes. immerse yourself in this and get a feeling for the idea of cross-cultural nursing. Then there are methods of evaluation for determining grades, and you'll see there's a box, and the first row says assignment, points possible, and objectives. The objectives goes back directly to page 1, where there's that assessment link for certification to make sure you have a valid DNP degree when you're done. And under assignments, you'll see number 1, reflective journal, number 2, synchronous virtual discussion, and 3, white paper. So you'll see, because of the grade, it is very, very important that you attend our virtual discussions and participate. That is one of the main ways that I'm going to be able to tell whether you're taking in the information or going down the wrong path. The reflective journal is turned in several times. I think the first time for you will be in week 3, but you really do need to keep up. Make sure that you're covering the topics that are assigned, and also keep it brief. Remember, I have 26 students in this class. I could not read a 10-page essay on each topic in the reflective journal from each of you. So making it succinct, to the point, clear, those are all good things. It doesn't have to be an APA format. That's not a formal requirement. However, if you decide to quote from one of the textbooks, or you've seen something on television, or you watched a documentary on Netflix, or you read a magazine the other day and you're going to mention them, then I really do expect you to be professional and to use APA format in the mention and references to those outside sources, because that's part of your academic integrity. You would not simply present the information as if you had discovered it or completed the research on it. And that's how it would appear if you do not have a reference and do not clearly show where that information came from. So that is my expectation. Otherwise, however, if you're expressing opinion or talking about a conversation you had with your coworker the other day, other than making it clear that my opinion is, or I was speaking with Susie Q last Thursday and here's our discussion, you don't need to APA format that. Now, the white paper I'll go over in just a few moments, but on all of these, the journal, the discussions, the white paper, you can click on the mention of them within Blackboard, where it says week 1, week 2, etc. through week 8. In each week, you have assignments, and there are links there, and you can find explanatory papers that discuss what is a reflective journal, what's expected, what is your participation in discussion, and then there's a 2-page explanation of the white paper that you can access through Blackboard. There is some information about all assignments are due by 10 p.m. on the assigned due date. Well, that sort of stuff is negotiable, so I'll be letting you know, but usually by the end of the week, by midnight on Friday is sort of my take on things, because I like to give you as much time as possible. I try and get to assignments as soon as possible and give you immediate feedback. Sometimes it's detailed. I hope you'll appreciate the fact that when I have 26 students, that may take me a little bit to get from A through Z on the student list, but I will do my very, very best. So please be patient with me. In this course, you will receive a letter grade, by the way. It will not be a number grade. However, on the next page, it shows you letter grades, grade points, and thresholds, so you can sort of translate that. So if you get an A, you'll know that your grade fell between 93 and 100%. Documentation. Okay, so we're on, let's see, I believe this is the 4th page of the syllabus. Up near the top, documentation. Any material not original to the student must be cited in APA format. That's what I was just talking about. So I hope that it has really sunk in and that you will take in the fact that as a graduate student, as a professional graduate student, as a pre-DNP student, this is your lifeblood. You should know APA. and you should use it. And it is an expectation in grading. So, again, the reflective journal is not formally in APA format, but if you refer to information that is not personal to you, that you've seen in another source, you must have a reference, and the reference would be at the bottom, of course, and you would have a citation within the body of your text. That leads directly to the next topic there, academic integrity. As a learning community of scholars, Brandman University emphasizes the ethical responsibility of all of its members to seek knowledge honestly and in good faith. So in good faith, that's, it could be a wishy-washy sort of phrase, but here's my advice. Most of us do not want to steal other people's material. We want to do our own work. We want to have integrity and to be seen as reliable and dependable scholars. And the only way you can do that is to make sure that you are citing other people's work and clearly giving credit where it's due. So, if it happens the first time, I'm pretty gentle and I'll explain it and have you redo it. But after that, the warning is clear, the information is clear, the expectation is clear. So please make sure that you give credit where it's due. Disability accommodations. If any of you are affected under the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, I will be receiving information from Brandman, but it's also helpful to get an email from you talking about what the expectations are. For instance, if you need extra days to complete something because you cannot type, or you have dyslexia or something like that. So letting me know, this isn't something I would share with anybody else. It's kept between you and I, but please let me know. The attendance policy. So not only is it an expectation for a successful grade in this course to attend the virtual discussions, but attendance, I have to post within about the first 2 weeks of the class. And so if people aren't attending, that's one of the ways I tell whether you're really still in the class, participating. So that makes it even more important. And then on the last page of the syllabus, it mentions that there is a course artifact. In other words, something that will be become a permanent document within the evaluation system in our School of Nursing, and that will be your white paper. So the next document from the course is the course outline, and it's organized week by week. And it's also under, I think you can find that under course information and print it from there. Each week there's a topic. So we've gotten through week 1, the introduction. We're just starting week 2, which is knowing the self and ethics. Under assignments, it will list your readings, assignments due that particular week. So coming up is, we're going to have another virtual session this coming week. And you have pretty extensive readings. And then there are 2 reflective journal entries. So again, they are not due to be turned in this week in your reflective journal, but you really need to stay on top of them and make sure that you're covering the topics thoroughly. As you go through each week, you'll see that there's a discussion board for each of the synchronous virtual classes. It is not a place where you have to go and post an opinion or do a little essay with references, as in other courses. In this course, you will use the discussion board only to post comments after the class. If A, you have something you wanted to say and never got to say it, or B, you never got called on at all. Again, with 26 people and 60 minutes, it's difficult to get to everybody. And I apologize for that, but this is your pop-off valve. This is where you can go to make those comments that you couldn't within the actual class itself. Remember, I am going to be recording those classes. There are people, you have an immovable work schedule, your mother falls down and breaks her hip, your child is sick with measles. Those things do happen. You need to let me know as soon as possible. I would prefer an email.